whatever you're doing, whatever you're helping market or advertise or sell, you have to put yourself in the audience's shoes. What do they want? Why do they want it? How it's going to help them. The number one thing we constantly go back to is like, wait, what does the customer want?
There you are. Found you. So, how's it going?
It's going well. I had a meeting this morning. Talked to a fellow entrepreneur in the Akron, Akron, Lodi, and Kent area. He's got an office in Kent, lives around Akron, facility in Lodi. So he was just explaining some of the next moves for his business. It gave me some insight and questions to ask him. So
fun.
Yep.
So why don't you introduce yourself to everybody who doesn't know who you are and what you got going on?
Perfect. Hello, everybody watching this. I went to Kent State University, graduated from Kent State. I worked in Akron at an ad agency for about three and a half to 4 years. I started to develop a product at work, and which I would bring in often to sort of prototype to my friends. The idea started from a challenge of one of my coworkers, and he said, Renee, why do you always eat salads? Why are you always packing these Tupperwares full of stir fry and good, just healthy things? And it was the first time I had been sort of called out on that, and I had to stop and think about it. And the more I thought about it, I realized that, it's because I feel good. I feel good, so I kept doing it. And you eat well, you feel better, you want to do more things. You eat well, you feel better, you want to do more things. It was very much of a domino effect. So jokingly, I told him, I said, you know what they should do, Chris? They should just take a salad, compact it in a bar, and call it a salad bar, much like a Cliff Bar. And I was just kidding at the time, but he sort of, he stopped and he said, you know what? That might actually work, but how the hell would you do that? Like, what would you do as far as packing the salad? And I took it as a big challenge, and I started prototyping and bringing in all of my samples to my work friends. And about 6 months in development, I sort of questioned what I was doing at the ad agency as far as like mission-driven work goes. And something like very purposeful to me. And that's when I kindly put in my 2 weeks, which ended up being 3 weeks. And I started on my mission to be working for myself for a very fulfilling reason. And that was sort of to bring this this real food, health food bar into the market, because it was something that did not exist before, and that we really needed. Me, my friends, the climbing people, the community that I've been around, was starting to give me really valuable feedback on how I could modify this and tweak it and make it better. And ever since then, it's just been a crazy little roller coaster of learning. So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. There's obviously, like with any entrepreneur story, there's a lot of details missed. But that's pretty much the basis of it.
Now, one thing that impressed me most right from the get-go was not only how many prototypes that you had, but you had all the data from each prototype, so that way you could compare historical notes. And then when you were coming across obstacles that nobody else had a solution for, you just would design it and say, okay, well, how does this work if I just start from scratch?
Yeah.
Where do you think you got that from? Because that's not something that I see in a lot of people.
That's a good question. I think early on, I didn't even know at the time that I was starting anything other than just providing a snack for me, my friends, my brother. So I never went into it thinking like, this is going to be a business. I'm going to, I have to do all these things beforehand. I started listening to a lot of podcasts just about the startup worlds and what they would do and how many iterations that they went through for, like, for an example, there was this backpack company that someone had interviewed, and they were talking about how many iterations they had done on the backpack and how many versions they went through, and if they could have only asked the people's opinions before then. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. So a lot of times when we learn, we think we're learning what to do, but then sometimes we miss the mark on what not to do or what they wish they would have done. And as soon as I heard that they wish they gathered the data of hearing people's opinions or actually physically writing it down, as soon as I heard that from prototype 1, I had little forms, little like maybe 3x5 pieces of paper. Some of them times they were just ripped up. And it was to gather people's feedback on what would you rate this out of 5? Flavor, consistency, smell, any other additional comments. And we got the most constructive and sort of like motivating feedback from that, because we then tweaked the recipe every damn time. Too much cinnamon. Okay, little less cinnamon. Way too crunchy. We dehydrated it for a different amount of time. And then we just kept playing with those. So, and then like a dork, I set up a whole spreadsheet on which prototype number, what the average rating was, like 4.8, and then what other prototype number, and then 3.2. And then I would track all of those and then just reiterate the highest out of 5 rankings that we got. And we're, we only have one solidified version that we've stuck with so far, just to sort of intro to the market. It's because we've spent the most time, and that's the one that has turned out best. But yeah, it's a lot of times it's pushing aside your own opinion on, I might have thought one of those other ones tasted a lot better. But when you hear it from 50 plus, 70 plus people, and at this point we've sampled more than 1,800 samples around the Cleveland area. So we've got some nothing's ever 100% for sure, but we've got some pretty good data on what the market likes, I guess.
So then the second thing that's impressed me most is because how long have you been in business for? And actively working on this project?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, 2 different answers. The first, we've been in business for about 1.5 years now.
Okay.
So we launched last year in July at a small little coffee shop called Nature's Oasis. Good launch. It wasn't actually even, sometimes with those launch days, it's like only your friends and your mom and those people show up. There was a pretty good amount of people I didn't know that were also buying and sampling the bar. So I felt, okay, at least this is not, at least it's not set up or rigged or anything. This is valuable market data to pull. So about 1.5 years technically in business, but working on the project as far as a hobby and all of that, about probably about 4.5 years. So,
and in that short amount of time, you've gotten a lot of press attention. And that's something I don't see a lot of modern small businesses achieving or even understanding how to make that happen.
Cool. That's definitely a benefit of being in the ad industry. I have friends that are just, they work for these places. So, just to have the people in that network that are also looking for stories to share or wanting to be a part of it somehow. And they ask, well, how can I help? And I'm like, you run a media company. Here's how you can help. This is awesome. So, I can't help but to feel like just mega lucky with the people that are surrounding me and supporting me and wanting to do the story. After you're in it so much or around it so much, it's like, well, it's the same story again. But as I talk to different people, I realized that there's different benefits about the one product or about the brand that I can share with a lot of people. And in my mind, I resonate equally as well with the 37-year-old yoga mom, because I feel like I share a lot in common with that person, as well as the 16-year-old rock climber dude that's wanting to have fun and camp for the weekend. I feel like I am a part of a lot of the different community, longboarding and trying all of these different things. Not that I'm good at any of them. It's just that I've dabbled in all of these hobbies, and I'd like to keep them for quite a while. So I'm aiming to be that 85-year-old longboarder grandma that that's still networking with the younger kids at some point.
So you and I have had a lot of discussions about the difference between sales and brand.
Mm-hmm.
And you have an advertising background and obviously went to school for that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that you learned most valuable from traditional schooling? And then what do you think was something that you learned outside of school that you can't believe you weren't taught while you were in school?
Perfect. The most, well, I guess traditional educational lesson or I guess the most valuable traditional educational lesson to me was that whatever you're doing, whatever you're helping market or advertise or sell, you have to put yourself in the audience's shoes. So put yourself in the market's shoes. What do they want? Why do they want it? How it's going to help them? A lot of things that you have to consider just by realizing the other person's story. So I think that was a huge and awesome lesson for me to think about even the companies that I'm helping now. Side story, or I guess now my side gig, is that I'll take freelance design projects and freelance web projects just to help my friends because I know that I can help them. But the number one thing we constantly go back to is like, wait, what does the customer want? What does the customer think is valuable? So that's been the best lesson for me in the typical or like standard schooling or educational method. Real life throws you a curveball though. Holy hell. When we were marketing and we were getting all the feedback for the product that, there's only so much I think I know about the rock climbing, hiking, camping industry. And I consider myself a decent part of that. I mean, I've done all of these things, but I'm no expert in any one of those realms. So probably the best thing in real life that I've learned is the best way to sell is to not sell at all. is just honestly, it sounds very backwards or very counterintuitive, but when you're describing a product that you really believe about, all you have to do is just tell them about the product. I constantly practice this, is that I never ask the person at the end of any conversation is like, hey, do you want to buy one now? Or, hey, how many do you want to buy? And one, because I'm not that sort of salesman or salesperson at all, but I do think like just describing the benefits, just hearing their opinion, just getting to know their story to even feel like, hopefully it's the right product for them. It should be for a lot of people, but just to hear their side of the story, to then explain, oh, you might like this, and this might be for you. That's just because I've found in my life the people that have a product or a service or whatever it is, not one time have I been sold to. It was me that sought the extra steps to like, damn, how can I get this person on my team? Or Googling, where do I find that product, afterward. So yeah, a little different traditional and real life.
Slightly. That's why I wanted to ask the question, because I knew you would probably have a good insight on it.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Now, going back to the prototype phase, how many different prototypes have you had to come up with your end goal?
So currently we're at 168. It's been 142 for a long time. I've just been super, super lucky recently to run into someone in the food manufacturing world. And I've had quite a few good mentors in my 4.5 years of just throwing this around as a hobby. But not until recently, like very recently, a month and a half ago, has someone sort of given me almost like the booklet of this is how it's done. And that's based on total experience of them growing a company in an 11-year span to take it to something like nationwide. So that famous little saying that you are the average of the 5 people you associate with most. It seems like the more I surround myself with these people that are, telling me, okay, the hard benchmark is 500,000 a year or something like that. The really hard benchmark and to prove yourself in the market is like in $1 million in revenue. And I'm thinking like, what? That was only like a very, very dream thought. But we're sitting down and figuring out those numbers. And even if it's not just numbers, it's like how many cities or neighborhoods are we going to reach, or how many event places and tours or whatever we're going to do. And it's like, the more those things get talked about, and the more they sort of become your reality, you start to believe it a lot. So just recently, and there's always the, where do you produce and how do you scale and how do you balance these things? And it's becoming more clear than it has ever been before. So I feel like we're stepping in the right direction.
Now, how do you find these type of people that are willing to help or in your same industry? Because like making a food snack, we'll just call it for a very general, poor description. Yep. Like finding people in that space is super niche. Like there's probably not that many that exist on the planet, let alone ones that you can find access to. So like what's the process or the beginning process or beginning questions to ask to seek out mentorship from people that have expertise in the field?
Yeah. I would say the process is the patience game of the reiterations. The more calls, the more you do it. I don't think there's one way to do it, or else I would have picked that book up, for some years ago and started following it. Number 1, number 2, but there's definitely truth in, sometimes people call it luck. And then other people will call it just hard work. And I believe that it is both. It's calling and then calling and then calling enough times that you get lucky, and then find the right person to help you. But I've just found such a positive outcome, and the best way to do it is just networking. And everyone you meet, no matter if they're the person at the side of the road that you think is just sitting there asking for money, or the person in the very high class yacht meeting, you have to treat everyone super, super respectfully, because you never know at what point they're going to be a connector in all of this, and to help you or for you to help them. It's also karmic, I guess, if that's a word. It's just it's good karma, and it gets tossed around, and the more you do it, it always feels like the more you're given back. So networking has got to be that answer.
No, I appreciate that, because support has been one of the big topics of today. Mm-hmm. When either becoming successful, on the verge of becoming successful, dealing with hard times, like the standard answer from pretty much anybody who's actively in pursuit still has been their support structure, the mentors. And I just find it fascinating that so many people at different levels of the game right now are having such a commonality when it comes to, what is the most important thing to them right now.
Yep. Yep. The support system for me has just been, I mean, none of this would be possible. And if anyone in the entrepreneur or startup world or anything like that says, you know, I did it on my own, that's total bullshit. There is no way, and you cannot do it, especially without the market helping you with feedback, or a friend helping you with something, or your mom for a while doing the books, or someone helping you in some way. Nobody does it on their own, and it is a complete result of the network that you've built. And that's, I don't know if I've read any book that taught me the right thing, it was expand your network, and more or less build the quality network. And it's not just you going to these places and shaking hands and saying who you are and then getting the hell out of there. It's like investing the time, and you go and you talk to these people and you figure out their story, and you have a story to share too. So you always want to I want to talk about this forever, and hopefully it's exciting to you every time. But halfway through, or maybe even a little before then, you shut the hell up and then you listen. And it's been in those times that I just I leave the place and just filled with knowledge, and then you get even more amped up or pumped up that now you know something else, or you know someone else. So yeah, the support system has always been there.
Yeah, I can think of a couple moments like that you and I have had, opening and feeling like we're shutting down coffee shops together.
Yeah.
So, well, I appreciate all your time.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we're wrapped up for today.
Awesome.
So, any parting words, and where can people find you?
Yeah, perfect. Okay, parting words are, I feel just super lucky to have built my network and my business, and I mean, even where it's at right now, which we have a long way to go. But I feel so lucky to have been involved with this active and healthy community. So I'm starting a series, and with your help as well, Mike, just to go and learn these stories, and whether it's for the community or partially for me, and partially for the person that's the owner, the founder, the builder of the place, so that we all can win this game of getting the word out there, hearing each other's stories, learning from each other. It feels good to be involved in the active and healthy industry. So I don't know why I wouldn't be doing that. And it so weirdly fits my lifestyle that look out for those episodes. Some of them have been pretty fun talks. I just have to clip and edit the videos, I guess in a sort of minimal but fun way. And then where can people find me? Facebook is facebook.com/super salad bar. Mindfully Mixed is the whole brand. It's the all-encompassing brand. And then Super Salad Bar is the product line. So we'll have other product lines involved at a later date, but supersaladbar.com and facebook.com/super salad bar.
Perfect. It's been fun having you on. Thank you so much for taking the time.
You're welcome. And good luck with the rest of your episodes.
Thank you. I think I have 38 more to go.
So. Oh, hell. I'll see you, Mike.
See you.